Hello and welcome to Virteract. So 2017 has just arrived, but before we talk about the upcoming games of this year, let's have a look at the top 10 games of 2016 from a gamer's perspective. Number 10, FIFA 17. As a major Pro Evolution fan, I was kind of surprised to myself by actually including the FIFA title in my top 10 games of 2016. By simply due to the direction they took, introducing a journey of modern FIFA 2017, I had to ensure that this little gem stole a spot in my top 10 games of 2016. In addition to this great mode, I have to applaud the visual aspects of the game. The pictures that you play on to have even more detail to them, along with the vast number of your favorite players getting closer and closer to the real deal regarding what they look like. Controls as per haven't changed too much regarding how they work, yet they have managed to once again improve the overall accuracy when it comes to the controls from my personal perspective. Overall, I do feel that this is a FIFA game where I have seen quite a few major improvements and new additions. Who knows what FIFA 18 will bring to the table, but I do feel that it will be hard to top FIFA 17. Number 9. Tom Clancy's The Division. This is the game which was pretty well hyped when it was announced, and unfortunately, the game was played with issues and problems that launch. In less than a month, however, the majority of the biggest problem have been solved, and they gave way to thousands of players to experience the third-person MMO shooter. The Division aims to demonstrate what it would be like to have a team-based MMO shooter that both the casual and hardcore fans could enjoy. The game has you transfers in the landscape, coming into contact with both NPCs and players alike. Whether you decide to side with those players or you choose to your own could be the world's greatest ally and lead them to a nearby stash to help them upgrade their soldiers. Or you could shoot him in the back when the time was right and reap the spoils afar. At the time of launch, the division was in the great spot, but problems were quickly faced, and it led to one of the best MMO-based games to come out in this year. Overall, I feel that this game did live up to the hype and expectations that I placed on the game. I don't play the game as much as nowadays, but this is the game that we need a team or regular players to get online with and get the most experience in the game. But I really can't take away how great and epic this game was just by the time I got the opportunity to play it. Number 8. Tokyo Mirage Session FE. For me, when you talk about the best games on the Wii U, this game has to come into the conversation, and overall, I do feel that this is the heart game of 2016. Tokyo Mirage Session FE has a strange title, but the place is just a bit strange, and yet it is a JRPG that I would be jealous not to have the chance to play if I was definitely a JRPG fan. When you look at it, it is a strange amalgamation of a music-driven game that's meant with Shin Megami Tensei series to make it incredibly enjoying JRPG experience that you can easily spend well over 40 to 50 hours playing and still manage to find plenty of things to do in the game. While the story is not exactly the great addition to the gameplay truly makes this game shine on its own and almost makes me wish I got a chance to see what it would be like to be on a stronger console. For anyone who is a fan of JRPG games and owns a Wii U, do not be distracted by the crazy name and be sure to focus instead on the fact that it's easily one of the best games released in 2016. Number 7. Mafia 3. I know some gamers will go berserk to see this title take a position in my top 10 list of games for 2016, but keeping it real, this game almost ended up with my most disappointing games of 2016 list, and then I almost placed this game on the top underrated games of 2016. But then finally I thought I would given how many hours I put into this game and how much of the story got me hooked from the start to finish was the main reason why I had to give this little gem the time of the day. Keeping it real though, Mafia 3 is by no means to wow for, but the game is a little bit of disappointment when you're looking at it from another perspective and certain aspects such as the repair missions. And I felt some great intentions were there, but the attention to detail was indeed missing in areas I feel could have enhanced for an overall experience. But with that being said, and maybe controversial to some, I do believe that the game outshined when they came with the excellent 77 and aspect of the bright colors, the quirky cast of characters, and more. As I mentioned earlier, for me, probably the strongest elements of the entire game is going to have to be the story. It's good to know that the developers have the intention to carry out on, with that particular trend. Even I was quite a wait. It was quite a wait to see the sequel to the popular Mafia franchise take place. The furthest torment of the game to meet Percy brought a series back into presidency, and who knows where they all go with the part 4. Number 6. Hitman. The latest Hitman game was released episodically for another year and it got the high critical acclaim. It is true to return to form the stealth action first person because for the action they were quite clearly the exact opposite of the stuff of Penny lives, and you took the bad of the role of the perfect assassin rather than some just with a ball dude with a gun who can't seem to die. I feel providing Square Enix and keep both to the stealth mode to know if that we're all looking for. This is going to be the start of the series coming back to its roots and demonstrate to everyone what it would be like to be in full form. I do feel, for that this game is pretty underrated, but it does deserve more exposure. It's a solid game of 2016, and especially now that you got the opportunity to play all the obtained, all the episodes, I do feel that this is well worth playing if you get the opportunity to. Number 5, Watch Dogs. While the original Watch Dogs games were the start of a new cool IP, it didn't quite live up to everyone's expectations, and it was considered flop as many. But I do feel that the sequel has got almost everything right. Everything you could imagine has been improved this time, around and making much for a much more satisfying sense of enjoyment in the middle of the combat. The only real downside is being definitely the driving mechanics for me personally. But when you can simply hack practically everything you're going to see, there's only so much you can complain about. All in all, the original Watch Dogs may have been a bit of a dud for the first time by itself. So for those who are kind of still on the fence whether they would want to buy this game or not, I recommend that I feel that this game is addictive and fun, and you'll get into it after a couple of hours. Number 4, Overwatch. Back in May 2016, Overwatch was originally released and was particularly reviewed as definitely one of the most popular FPS games on the market. Unlike many other FPS games that came out in the recent years, Overwatch brings the trend of focusing on a team-based objective style of one player, where the teamwork is and always be the key factor when you're playing. There's a cost of over 20 different heroes with you, once being properly released. As the time kicks by yet, with every single character they have different roles to play in a team and with their unique skills of abilities and weapons. Thanks to the incredible diversity of the roster of characters, it means that every hero plays is completely different and requires a different skill set for each player, creating a game that can be played for hours upon and each and every day, and you're still finding ways to improve your type of the game. Overall, I feel you go as far as to say that Overwatch is an FPS game that is hard to put down, especially when you consider the amount of replay value the game has with each and every one of its characters. Even when you look at it, it's hard to dispute that this game should not be one of the best games that came out in 2016. Number 3, Forza Horizon 3. 2016 has not been a year for a racer, down to the fact that very few games were made for the racers. Yet the Forza series has once again done it and produced one of the best racing games not only this year but in recent years as well. Forza Horizon gives you the opportunity to race and drive exactly as you like. With that being said, as close to the real thing as you like, or even using every single assistant game to the game that gives you everything to your advantage. On top of this, the driving force of the force of this game is the 100 cars that you can use at your disposal is quite satisfying regarding some whatever card it may be. Just to make things better, all the cars and location in this game are beautifully detailed, and it makes you want to spend even more time on the game no matter how much progress you've made so far. Overall, for me personally, Forza Horizon 3 is one of those racing games that should be in your collection. It's a treat estimate of what next generation racing games should look like. Number 2, Battlefield 1. For me, Battlefield 1 is one of the best FPS that dropped in 2016, and it's also a first-person shooter games that fans of the shooter are happy looking to sink their teeth onto for some time now. For a few fair years, players have been asking and pleading our favorite first-person shooter franchise go back to the past and give players a chance to live out some of the classic and brutal 20th century warfare. And that's exactly what Battlefield 1 brought to the table. Not only there was a touching story in the form of campaign that shows evident respect to all those fallen in the First and Second World War, and then proceeded to build upon their already stellar, powerful multiplayer and brought it to the fit to the 20th century war at stakes. All the weapons are being brought to the finale of the period, and yet they just feel as satisfying as you might imagine, as well as the vehicles you could use, such as a bulletproof train that is close to the indestructible as you would ever get. The story may be short to some degree, but by still touching it, it has true respect for the source material and those who were lost in some of the darkest days in the world history. Multiplayer is and always will be the key force of the driving force for this game, and we were taking place in maybe the new time period. It brings the franchise to a whole new height that FPS genre truly deserves. All in all, I feel if you have never played this game, or not really into the FPS shooters, it may be quite difficult for you to pick up and play, but I still feel the experience is worth it. Number 1, Uncharted 4. Wrapping up the story and escapades of the lovable rogue and fortune hunter, Uncharted 4 decisive stick to the formula as the first, second, and third games, where the platform and the third person shooter is the king. While my player being an additional extra to the game, as usual, the story is where the game truly shines. You meet characters old and new and embark on an adventure that leads to an exciting climax and ending for our friend Nathan Drake. They have done a little change to the game due to the mentality of it is not is if it isn't broke, don't fix it. It's a philosophy that is serving them incredibly well in the long run, and I agree with that. From the story and gameplay standpoint, Uncharted 4 is one of the stunningly looking game and best games of 2016 for so many different reasons, and is easily one of the best reasons to own a PS4. So, what was your favorite game of 2016 and what games you think I should have added to my list? Share your views in the comment section. Do like, share, and subscribe to Virteract. Thank you.